Greetings and salutations. My name is Dr. Rockenrod. This is my associate Gus. And we met back in the day when we were in the West Hollywood scene of the Hollywood rock scene, like the Whiskey Go Go, the Roxy, and the Rainbow. And we comprised a entertainment company where we called it Enhancement Entertainment Group, which was a promotions company promoting rock bands in the local venues, the Roxy, the Whiskey, some of the other venues around Hollywood and West LA. And we were pulling some pretty major talent from back in those days, and they were actually up and coming artists that became big time rock stars. Some we could definitely mention that you would recognize. However, we will keep those discreet at this point. But what had happened was Gus here was real key in helping me out with these because he had connections in the movie business. He's an aspiring actor at the time, and I was also dabbling in the stuntman action and acting world myself. But as things progressed, expenses got more and more. Production companies need money, operating capital to be able to afford the big venues, the big production companies, the big sound companies, and a big advertising campaign. So, I hate to say it, but I've dabbled in some areas that might not be completely 100% honorable. In other words, I dabbled in some illicit funding and was able to catapult the company by utilizing this funding to book big venues, put big advertising campaigns, put some major acts on a mainstream stage in Hollywood, West Hollywood, and Beverly Hills. The company became huge over a year or so, and we were dealing with major record companies, Capitol Records, Warner Brothers Records, MCA, Universal, and we had connections in all the A&R departments, all the scoring people in the movie business who were using our stuff. So as we were continuing our film careers, aspiring actors, and me as stuntman, the company Enhancement Entertainment Group continued to grow, and we had some really exciting things going on, big shows coming on. We were big players in a big pond. And ultimately, when things started to look really, really good for our entertainment company, well, you might have figured it out. Sometimes you can't get away with things you think you're going to be able to get away with. And I eventually got an investigation launched against me. Thank God it never developed into any kind of an indictment with a conviction, but it did take my reputation and catapult it to the wrong direction. And at the time, it also almost got Gus in problems too, because he's a straight laced dude, and he got caught up in the wreck too. But as a result of that, we did learn. We had a valuable lesson learned in life, and as a result, we both are pretty successful actors, and I'm also a published writer. I've achieved my doctorate in divinity, and I'm on the intellectual property called Holywood, and I actually own the trademark and the copyright on that. It's also an inspirational book called Holywood, and it's an LLC. And we've had a pretty awesome run at it, and we've learned a lot from that. But
tell them how it all started. How did you how we met and how you first started at in high school.
Well, I went to high school at Fairfax High, right there in West Hollywood on Melrose and Melrose Avenue at La Brea. And Brett was a Beverly Hills High guy, but we run into each other occasionally doing extra work or background or stand-in stuff.
I met you at the Rainbow.
And I'd always see him at the Rainbow. So common ground. Eventually, we became pretty cool bros, hanging out, and we'd help each other find gigs. Film gigs, and then we were both hairband enthusiasts, so we kind of took our promotions that direction, and we learned from a pretty heavy hit. Almost destroyed my reputation and almost hindered Gus as well. But as a result of that, we grew and we became who we are today. But the bottom line is it was all about greed. I would have never broken the law, and I wanted that greed, man. I wanted to be a big time concert promoter, a big time management company, a big time actor, a big time stuntman. And I know that a lot of times when you have money propelling that, it always helps because money attracts other people that's got money. And I was able to attract big people like Doc McGee, Ted Templeman, people like this that are big time players in the record industry.
When did you change the company? Like, because at first you were doing legit promotions and stuff, but when did you start changing it to the funding to criminal?
Well, basically what happened was it we were going pretty good by ourselves, and I made it look like we were making the money off the concerts, but the bottom line on the concerts, we would only net about 10% profit margin on those. So we'd have $1,000 in there. We'd only make a couple hundred, but I would, basically I would take the money, the proceeds I had from the illicit activity, and put that into the bankroll. So it looked like instead of making $100 on a show, we'd look like we made about $2,000 to $5,000 on them. So that way we could, make the company look like it's continuing to grow, and investors would want to be a part of it, and things like this. Actually, we were only making about $100 to maybe $400 or $500, and our bankroll and our income statements, accounting sheets said, we were making anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 per week. So for guys our age at that time in life, that was pretty good money, and it was pretty awesome business model as well. But we learned, and we were able to write stories about it and write movies about it. Matter of fact, I wrote a movie about it, and it's called Hollywood Rocks, coming to a theater near you. The names have been changed to protect the guilty. Hollywood Rocks, starring Rockin' Rod. So anything else you want to iterate about our escapades in the Hollywood entertainment?
Mainly your escapades, because I was mainly doing the books. I didn't know that you were doing all these things on the side to get things paid for.
That's true.
But I didn't ask questions. I kind of knew, but I didn't ask questions.
Well, I figured if you didn't know anything, you wouldn't be guilty of anything. Yeah. And I didn't think anybody would figure it out anyway. So what do you think was the trade-off, though? But was there a learning experience that we both can gain from what happened?
Yeah, no, I shouldn't trust you.
Oh,
I learned
that. I wouldn't have.
But that's fine. I already knew it was something wasn't right, but so it's my own fault. But we've forgiven each other, right? Because we're good friends.
Yeah,
that's what you do.
My peoples. What do you value about your own job that you currently have? I mean, you got a pretty admirable job. Millions of people all over the world would die to do what you do.
Yeah, I'm doing real estate now, so
real estate's
luckily
awesome.
I didn't get in trouble. When the police were getting involved, I wasn't.
I mean, basically, all they did was question you for about 15 minutes. They at least put me in jail for a couple of days.
That could have ruined all of my future,
endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing about it is, it's scary. I mean, especially with a guy at my age ends up getting thrown in jail in the West Hollywood Sheriff's Department, and I learned a valuable lesson early in life because there was an old song back in the day called "I Fought the Law and the Law Won," and guess what? They always do. Don't mess with illegalities because you'll never get away with it. So the trade-off is we learned a valuable lesson. I was able to write a script about it and it made it into a big movie, and we're still good friends. We've learned a lot from each other and learned a lot with each other, and we are who we are today as a result of the things that we've learned in the past. This is Rockin' Rod and Gus signing off from Hollywood.